Yeah, bro, I can hear you.
Before,
Yo, what up, man?
where have you been, man?
Where
You're
have
late,
you
bro.
been?
I was
Oh
waiting here for
man,
about 10 minutes now. Let me
bro,
kick your
Okay,
Good to see
what's
you,
your
man.
mouth missing?
it's
Where's
meeting.
our? Where's your face, bro?
Show your camera.
I'm coming. Guys. I'm coming. Just give me a tiny second.
Okay,
My
Oh,
okay,
this
Miss
team.
Awa.
is Awa. Typical Awa. Always late.
Right, exactly.
Alright,
I'm
man. Like, you
for
guys are disrupting my dinner. Like
ooh,
eating hot dogs here. Hot dog and
ooh,
that's
rice.
not dinner. Come on.
ooh.
I woke up pretty late today. It was like a very hectic, heavy exam yesterday. Just like
Right, right, right.
horrible.
I was about to ask you how did it go, but yeah, yeah,
Well,
that was it.
that was our last exam for like our anatomy block, but like
Mm,
extremities, and I'm not that interested in extremities.
right,
So
right,
you
right,
can almost imagine every single like bones and every single arteries and every single veins
right,
and nerves that you have to learn on those like your arm and your foot. It's
right.
the practical which it was hard because of the practical thing. Before, by the way, is this like an audio only or like our face will
Oh
also
yeah,
show?
I'm showing you faces. Get ready.
Because
Absolutely not. That was not
you
the contact.
you need to give us some consent form
Oh
for this.
man. Oh
No.
This is
yeah.
not
Don't worry,
just
don't worry. I'm gonna extract the audio from it, so you're fine. Awa, where's your face? God's sake.
Guys,
Um
calm down.
see now you're wasting our time now, right? Like
Guys,
come
so
on.
I have I'm
Yeah.
coming. I have
Okay.
a student and she's having trouble doing her exam, so
Oh
I have to
well.
change the settings for her.
Oh, tell her you're busy right now.
Ah,
Wait, Kristian, so have you started medical school already?
yes, I'm a month deep to medical school now.
A
It's too
month
late
into
for
it.
me to get out now, brother.
not
That's not even a that's not
It's
even a
too late
plan.
for me to
It's
run
not even a
away
choice.
now.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah, bro.
not
Nah, you work
I'm
too
too
hard
deep
to get in
now.
there. Yeah, that's not even a choice right now.
Well, it's like I feel like it's very still,
Mhm.
85% of me is still in undergrad and 15% of me is about to realize that I'm actually in medical school. You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Right, 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 right. Yeah, yeah,
So, but yeah,
totally.
we just started last month.
I'm struggling over here. Um,
It's gonna be Christmas by the time you join us.
I am here though. I'm right here. Do you actually need to see my face?
We do our. You have 2 minutes to put on your face so that we can start. Okay.
I'm
Tell
on
Well,
that
I
student.
actually
Yeah, tell that student that you're busy. Our.
the
Tell her
tiny.
you're busy.
I gotta run. I gotta run. Okay, I got it now. I think if you reset assignment successfully,
Up.
graduate extension will have less
Assuming.
than 6 hours to complete it.
before you're doing
So
good job
recording.
with this, man.
Thank you, bro.
I
I
I
appreciate it.
checked a
I
couple of
appreciate it.
your like episodes. I thought
Yeah.
actually it was through SoundCloud. I did not know
No,
you were conducting it via Zoom because I know some people conduct it through
they do.
SoundCloud and they just like upload it in their podcast. But like,
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'll
I
do
have
it.
it on like all of them pretty much. So
okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Awa, you ready?
I'm here, guys.
Finally. Right? Finally.
Look at that face.
Jesus. Right. Okay.
You're looking
Okay.
good,
Okay.
Awa.
Mm.
Thank you. You too. I see a white coat behind you. We know now. Okay.
Ooh, it's
It's
official.
right.
Yeah, there
It's
we go.
right there.
It's right there.
It's
You're like,
right there.
mm-hmm.
Smelling like formaldehyde.
Oh my.
Not formaldehyde.
Let's
You
get into all the organic
We
chemistry right
are.
now.
We're doing formaldehyde for our like we're using formaldehyde to actually preserve our cadavers. So it's like after anatomy lab,
Smells like it.
boy, this
Right.
room is like
Right. I can imagine. Right.
no, but like
guys.
Yeah.
Christian, we don't want to know. We don't want to know what you're doing in medical school.
like I
Like,
saw some of your episode. I feel
yeah,
like they went in a very like conversational
yeah,
way,
like pretty
which
chill.
is always yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
Um,
that went really good.
yeah. So I mean, today is you guys' day, right? Like I'm just gonna
Are we the
be
first student in your podcast? Are we the
be
first student?
you'll be the first, and
Who
then
will be the
after
first
you
one?
guys, exactly. And then after you guys will be Ezekiel. Ezekiel will be next. Ezekiel will be next.
Ooh,
I
that's
was
so
about.
exciting.
I was actually about to tell you that.
Ezekiel will be
didn't
next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, like Ezekiel and I already did that episode already. But what I'm doing is I'm gonna put you guys first. So I actually uploaded the 4th episode today about the Mcat with Jamie.
Oh, that
right?
was Ezekiel. What? That was Ezekiel.
That was with Jamie.
Take some trash out of our mouth.
Take some.
Maybe you should start doing that now. Kristian, take trash out of
You
your
have.
so he doesn't have to do all the work for you.
Thank you, Awa. You have 1 minute, Kristian. Fix it.
I have 1 minute to like take it all out.
Right.
2 seconds.
Let me check and make sure that all this recorded stuff is perfect.
Yeah, because like,
Yeah, looking good. Yeah.
Ezekiel has a different experience than like compared to all of us because of the MD PhD kind of
Mhm.
pathway, and I thought
Yep.
that's gonna be like very interesting. But yeah, I was talking to
Yeah.
him before. Like he's been having like his time of the life as well.
Yeah,
In a very
yeah,
opposite
yeah.
way.
Yeah, Ezekiel made it, man. He made it.
Yes.
Absolutely, and deservedly so. Okay, so yeah, today is your turn. The two of you, you're gonna spill all the beans. All right. So are you guys ready? This is gonna be chill. It's gonna be cool.
Give me a
You ready? You tell me you're ready. There we go.
Fix your face, Hawa.
So my face is not in there.
Fix your face. What's wrong with your face? Huh, Kristian?
You kept on laughing.
Okay.
We're having too much fun, aren't we? All right.
No. Yes.
You look good, Hawa. You look good. I like the background purple
Oh my
behind
god.
you. It's like a flower
Guys,
thing.
these two people are not gonna let me introduce them, right? Like they're not gonna let me start the episode. Welcome to the 5th episode of the PREMED Life podcast. Yeah, today. So I've told you guys, right? I'm lucky to have smart friends, right? And these two are one of the smartest out there. So yeah, I wanted to bring them on. They're in this beautiful, excellent program that we are all jealous about. So why not just bring them on, let them share their experiences, because I want you guys to benefit from it. And so, yeah, we're going to dive into it. So Kristian and Howard, welcome
Thanks
to the
for
PREMED
having
Live.
us, man.
Absolutely, brother. Okay, so introductions. Our Lisa, you're first. Tell us about you.
This is like a medical school interview.
Right? Let's get it.
Tell us more about yourself.
Like-
Hawa. Let's go. You just interviewed a couple of
Okay,
Let's
let's get into it. This is
Let's
not
get
my
into it.
jam, so I'm gonna be a little bit. But
Oh,
Yes.
It's gonna be edited.
Mm.
my name is awas.jobe, and I just graduated Lehman College with a biology major and bachelor's in biology, and this is about me. What am
Hey,
I-
what was that? Summa cum laude? That was it? Yeah? Okay, you gotta mention that,
Yes,
please. There we go. Okay. Kristian, you're next.
Well, just like Hawa, I recently
Mhm.
graduated from our undergrad, City University of New York, Lehman College. So Bachelor's of Science in Biology as well, with a concentration in biomedical science.
Mm.
And I'm currently a first-year medical student at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine.
Whoop.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Awa.
Oh, yeah.
Awa's next. Starting
And
next
ours
year.
next, right? Exactly.
Mhm.
So you guys didn't take the MCAT, did you?
No, brother.
All right.
It's a very
All right.
short
So,
topic.
right. So before we get into that, so guys, that's why I brought in here, right? This program, apparently you don't need to take the MCAT you know,
No,
to get into
no.
medical school. So that's why I have them here to right, for them to share that
Yeah.
experience. So before we dive into that though, I always ask everyone this, right? Why medicine for you guys? Like I said, you were smart. You could have chosen to do anything else. Why medicine? Anyone can go first.
I think I'll go first.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, Awa.
It's a lengthy
Of course,
story
Awa.
that I'm going to try to.
Hey, look, I wanted to. Okay, so you know how well we've been in those meetings before, and like we had to cut them short.
Yeah.
Feel free to talk as much as you want. Okay, so get into it.
Yes, before giving me the platform to do that, but I'll still go ahead and choose to make it shorter because I'm sure he doesn't want to listen to me to talk about why.
I think they're interested. All right, let's get. Yeah.
I think a lot of experiences played into why I want to go into medicine. The first would be from my background. So I am from Gambia and I came here as an international student, which means most of my life I spent in Gambia, which is also a developing country and lacks a lot of basic necessities that one would say is basic necessities for life, including health. So that experience put me in through a lot of experiences dealing with underserved or staffed medical systems in Gambia. But the first encounter that I would have in medicine, like a lot of you or most people wouldn't say that's special, but it was with my grandmother who unfortunately passed from cervical cancer, but was not till it was at the last stage, so stage 4. And
yeah, so sorry to hear about that, Hour.
Done with that. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It was an unfortunate situation because she did not have access to healthcare. She did not, even though when she had it, she was misdiagnosed several times till her correct diagnosis when it was too late for anything to be done at that point. And I think that really put me through a lot and learning about the healthcare system and figuring out that a lot more people are suffering from that than I were able to see at that point.
So Awa, not to cut you off, but grandma was in Gambia at that time?
Yes. So my grandma is in Gambia. I was there too. And this would be around high school-ish, going to high school for me. So that experience put me through a lot of awareness about medical health because in my country, there's a lot of normalizing diseases or normalizing you're not really sick until you're about to die. That's when you're really sick. So that put me around a lot of experiences. And then in high school, I studied science because in my high school, you have to study factors. So you don't study whatever you want to. You can choose what major you want to do. So I was studying science, also had a lot of experiences working in the community, also working under organizations that are there to support young women because their education is not very much empowered in my country, and supporting or being part of those organizations helped me connect with other girls, share experiences, and also try to build empowerment for each other. And then after high school, I did get into medical school in my country and I started a semester over there, but then I had the opportunity to come to United States, and of course, I jumped at it because
why not?
In the middle of that, I came to United States. I was 16 when I came, and I started studying biology at Alma in Michigan, but then moved over to Lehman College and got to volunteer more in the community to of course on other organizations that I was a part of, and then learned more about healthcare. I currently work as a scribe, which is also opportunity for me to learn day to day what doctors are doing. And doctors know me for this because I will literally be like, so why are you a doctor? And they're like, why are you asking me this? I've been over this.
They say what? They've been over this?
We did this in interviews already.
Right.
They are great at sharing insights about why they're doctors. And at the end of the day, you see a connection between why we're all in this field. And it's kind of rewarding to see that people are actually living their life and they're enjoying what they're doing. That's pretty much my rough story.
That's like long story short, right?
Yes.
For sure. I know there's a lot more to it, but yeah, Kristian, it's your turn now. I know you've been boiling in your seat to talk. It's your turn now. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was very inspiring at first, hearing how starting medical school at a very young age. No wonder you were killing biology hour once you got.
Tell me about it. She's like, what is this? This is like.
I'm just like super amazed.
Oh man.
Yeah. In some countries, you guys start at a young age, and I feel like there's an advantages into that, but there's also disadvantages. But like, so for me,
so Kristian, 1 second. Hour. So that means you wrote the WASI. Did you write a WASI, or what did you write?
Yes, I did.
And then you went straight into pretty much the medical school after high school, right?
In my country, essentially after high school, you can go straight into medical school after you apply and do your interviews. It's not as too much.
It's still competitive, though. I know that for sure.
Competitive, yeah.
Absolutely. It's not. I mean, not everyone gets into that program. And then what was that? What was that other thing I wanted to ask? How many years is it?
It takes 7 years. So it's
7 years.
Combining everything for here. But I only kind of started one semester, and before that I moved up.
Right.
The first year is actually PREMED, so you're doing stuff in the first year, and then the rest you're doing.
The rest you just okay. Yeah. Okay, Kristian, you up. That's why she was in the class, and she was killing it. She was like, I've already done this. Like, well, what are you guys doing? Like,
yo, you guys all lost.
Yo, she's like, you guys are so behind. Like, you don't even know.
Exactly. But I feel like that integrated medical school and undergrad has been like integrated in some countries. Like I heard in South America also they're doing that, right? But anyway, that's another conversation in and of itself. But
sure.
Yeah, so like my why medicine. I love science and want to help people. I'm kidding. That's not
pretty cliche, right?
Pretty cliche, pretty standard.
Yeah.
But like for me, I'm a very kind of like non-traditional in a way that unlike a lot of people. So like watching some episodes of your podcast, like I've heard there's this theme where like the doctors, they knew that they wanted to be a doctor since they were in the womb of their mother. And I'm like, what? I can't really like relate into that because I literally just started thinking about wanting to become a doctor about 2 to 3 years ago during the start of my sophomore year. And that how that became to be, like it started again with this like amazing summer internship. So I had this summer internship called SHPEP. So it basically stands for like Summer Health Professionals Education Program. And SHPEP is basically gathering all of these pre-health students, right? So you have pre-dental, pre-nursing, and pre-med, and then putting them all together in one classroom. And I thought that's a very unique experience because you get to learn from one another. And so at the end of that, during that internship, I saw like doctors who looked like me and who had the same background as me, right? Like doctors who are Filipinos, and then doctors who were immigrants and had those stories that I resonated with. And that was the first time that I ever thought, man, like maybe I can do this, right? Like maybe, I can become a doctor too, because back in my country, and then when I moved here, I thought doctors would always be like rich. And, you have to have like a rich parents or, a doctor parents, a mother or father to become a doctor yourself. But until then, once I got into SHPEP, I saw that I can become like this too. It was like a representative, like there's a representation of myself and my background. So that was the first light bulb that told me, okay, maybe I can do this. So,
Kristian, SPH and SHPEP, what universities?
SHPEP.
I mean, SHPEP, right?
SHPEP actually have branches. So they have one in like, so it's all pre-health university. So they have one at Columbia Med School. They have one at UCLA, where I did my SHPEP summer program, and they have it. I think Western Health, or like Western State of California Health,
right?
Like that university.
So they have branches, right? And what did you do, SHPEP?
So I was accepted at University of UCLA.
Yeah.
David Geffen for my SHPEP program. And you were asking what I did during SHPEP?
No, I was asking. I just wanted so pretty much, long story short, guys, I asked this question, I cut him short so that you guys can know that these programs exist and you can actually go and start, looking for what universities offer them. But yeah, Kristian, you can move on with your biomedicine. But that was why, yeah.
And by the way, you can just edit some of this out because I'm gonna like ramble. This is gonna be my why medicine. It's always
stop
like,
rambling. Move on.
Talk freely, my guy. Talk freely.
Don't give him that permission.
Thank you so much, before.
No problem.
Anyway, so after SHPEP, I already had this sense of like, I think I wanted to become a pre-med, right? And the craziest thing, and spirituality, I feel like all of us, right? Like spirituality is big for all of us, like our faith, and I remember telling my mom that I wanted to become a doctor. And this is where that kind of the obstacles of becoming a doctor is going to be like for immigrant parents. Literally, my mom yelled at me and she was like, "What are you thinking? Like, you're not rich." And that's the first thing, right? Like, that's the first like obstacle as an immigrant kid with like, you have to break all these stereotypes and this like beliefs, because it's like, oh, you can't be a doctor because you're an immigrant or like you came from a low socioeconomic background. And like my mom sort of kind of ignited that. It's like you can't possibly pursue this. This is going to be expensive for all of us and we cannot afford it. I'm like, there's scholarship and all of that stuff. So it was already a struggle the moment I decided to become wanting to become a pre-med. And then another struggle, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, registration for classes. So registration for classes at Lehman, for people who doesn't know, it's really hectic because you have to register, especially for reader classes like Gen Chem, Gen Bio, in the very first beginning. And this was already in June and July. So I'm like, I literally prayed that night. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a sign, right? I'm serious. I'm not making this up. And this is what I know. This is when I know it's like, there's this like divine intervention in all of our story. I feel like God plays a role in a way. So I was praying, I'm like, God, if you want me to become like a pre-med, right? If this is the path you wanted me to pursue, a sign of that is going to be general chemistry and general biology are going to open tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to be the deadline. It was so.
Okay, let's pause right there.
I know this is
so guys, for those of you who are not Lehman students, right? Let's just put in perspective so you understand what you're saying. You were saying that this was around July, right?
This is around July.
Which is like
already at the end.
This is like you're not even so back in right, like back in the spring semester. Normally
nursing,
like right, like normally these classes open registration for fall. So you're registering for the fall semester, right?
I was already registered for fall semester and for my nursing classes.
But you didn't have those classes, correct?
I did not have my pre-med classes because I was in the nursing pathway. And the craziest thing about it is that my heart is still in the nursing pathway. I knew I wanted to become a nurse. Oh, by the way, to just give like a little bit backstory. I'm telling you, this is kind of like a very long story.
Yeah, don't worry.
Like, I always wanted to become a nurse, and a reason for that has been like a lot of it is like influenced by my mother. So out of high school, unlike Awa, so Awa has like a lot of sciences in their high school. We actually did not, because I attended an international high school, and as an international high school student, we have a lot of history and English and literature, right? As opposed to science and math. So my scientific knowledge and mathematics skills were not as good. So I came into Lehman, I saw calculus for pre-med student. I'm like, I'm running away from that.
Right.
And I'm going to like this nursing field because I've heard my mom wanted me to become a nurse. There are a lot of Filipinos who are nurses. I know a lot of my Filipino friends who wanted to be a nurse. Right. So there's already this cliche of like becoming like
you gotta be it, right?
Yeah, you gotta.
Okay,
be a
so
nurse.
back to the illustration I was trying to give, right? Yeah. So you're a nursing student trying to get into pre-med classes, not even in the spring semester, all the way to summer. Summer. What were you thinking? Okay, so like guys, for those who are not Lehman students, right? This is what happens. Back in the spring semester, around say March. That is when registration for these classes open for the fall. Okay, and as pre-meds, these classes feel like that, like with like quickly, right? So by the time he was like back in July, like it was already filled pretty much, or it should be filled, correct?
Yeah.
So I just want to put that out there. So it was between March and July. How many months? Math students.
I don't know the calendar.
About 3-4 months, right?
Right.
Like about April, yeah. They start around April. They start
right?
opening at April.
Yeah.
About 3 to 4 months, yeah.
Right. So you were late in the game, my guy.
Right.
Okay, continue.
And it's an impossible task, right?
Right.
That's why I always tell people my medical school journey is very non-traditional in a way that I did not plan any of this. This wasn't my plan at all. That's why I always like spirituality is a big thing for me, and I always pray. I feel like this is a calling for all of us, and like especially for me, I felt like that night when I prayed, I'm like, all right, if you wanted me to become a pre-med, you know, a sign will be like, give me a sign. And specifically, I prayed like open Gen Bio and open Gen Chem, kindly, right? And if not, I would stay in the nursing field, right? Because at this point, man, like before, I had my nursing career ahead of me. I had 4.0 GPA for my nursing classes.
Yeah.
I was already like getting into it, right? Like I was already so excited to get into the nursing program. So if these classes did not open the next day, and that day is basically the deadline to drop the classes, that's why there's a chance for them to be open.
Right.
So just to put that out there. So the day happens, the next day happens, right? I woke up early in the morning. I went to Lehman. I started talking to our professor, Professor Lydia, our loved professor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I started talking to Professor Lydia.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. Like, she's my second mother, Lehman. So started talking to Professor Lydia and then had this idea. I think I wanted to become a pre-med. You know, I saw like how, you know, I had an amazing experience in SHPEP. I shadowed different types of doctors, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And then she was telling me about the classes, and I'm like, yeah, they're closed, right? And then she told me that a couple of the classes that I needed to become a pre-med student, because mind you, given the fact that some of the nursing classes does not translate at all into pre-med classes, so my anatomy and physiology is going to be useless. It's going to be, you know, it's just one credit, but basically it's useless. My psych is going to be, it's okay, but like my you know, the classes that I basically took, the elective, the history and all of that stuff, they're going to be useless.
So when you say useless, what you mean is you do have the knowledge, but the credits
they're
don't
not
count.
Counted.
Right,
exactly. They're not counted into like my degree. So they told me to go to the chemistry department. So I first spoke with Gustavo, and it's all very connected. It's all very delicately put.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So I vividly remember when I was there, Gustavo told me, have you had any pre-calculus? I was like, I never had any pre-calculus classes. And he told me, you legally cannot be accepted into our Gen Chem classes because pre-calculus is a requirement. It's a prereqs for, oh gosh, prereqs, that word. Prereqs for Gen Chem, right? And so, but he told me, he's like, you know, like, I really wanted to become a pre-med and this and that. And then I think he was moved, and then he told me like, all right, you know, if Donna was here, you're not gonna get any permission to be a Gen Chem. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is already a sign, because it was that day that Donna was not there. Like, what are the odds of Donna not being there? Because if Donna was there, I'm not gonna get those Gen Chem pass. So Gustavo just told me on the back door. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna let you in the back door, right? Like, I'm just
and now you're saying it to the rest of the world. Okay.
And I'm not telling you. There's always editor, but no. It's like I was given an access because he told me that I'm also gonna take pre-calculus classes, so it's not like an illegal thing.
Okay, so you were taking them co-requisites pretty much at that point.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
I'm just like telling this story to show how like everything is so like
right.
It's non-linear. It's like, what are the odds of me getting accepted into this class that I'm not even supposed to get accepted? And because I got accepted to Gen Chem, and then I remember that later of the day, Gen Bio opened, and it was Professor Lydia, and I'm like, dude, this is a sign, right? So I jumped in, dropped out my nursing classes, signed into my pre-med classes, and the rest is history. But that was just the beginning of my pre-med history. And like going forward, I started volunteering in the emergency department at Bellevue Hospital, and I saw a lot of like patients who were otherwise neglected, right? A lot of patients who were undocumented, a lot of patients who did not speak English, a lot of patients who were immigrants, a lot of patients who were incarcerated. And that was the very first thing that I wanted to do back in SHPEP, that I learned about the health disparities and stuff, right? I started to talk with them. I started to learn how to advocate for these patients and how to like connect with them and to be able to heal them and like give, expand access to healthcare for them. And that was that kind of what, like, another factor, and that solidified my interest into this medicine thing, like my why medicine. That's another kind of like a wood that added to my fire of me wanting to become a doctor. So first was like a sign from like, first was like my prayers, right? Like were answered. Second was this volunteering thing, and then third, I started shadowing. I started shadowing this surgeon at NYU, this cardiac surgeon, and he was he was doing congenital cardiac surgery, and so when I was shadowing him, open heart surgery where they stop the heart and then they let the heart lung machine, the bypass heart lung machine to start. And I saw that they basically stopped this kid's heart, right? And they start a timer, and they, before they stop the kid's heart, they warm it up, and they cool it off, and then they starting to start the bypass machine, the heart lung bypass machine, and then they stop the heart, and then the bypass machine took over, right? So to pump blood into the rest of this kid's body, and also to pump oxygenated blood. And I thought at that moment, well, legally, this surgeon just killed the kid, right? Because like, you stop a person's heart, that's the definition of death, right? So legally, you're killing a kid, and then after 45 minutes after the procedure, you're bringing them back to life. You're warming the heart, and then you're stopping the bypass. And I cannot tell you the feeling that I got after that. I'm like, this is like the most sophisticated and the closest thing to nonfiction that I've ever seen. From that moment on, there was just this like thrill, this adrenaline in me. I'm like, I think I wanted to do that for the rest of my life. Because the thing too is that after a few days after that, I saw the kid walking again, and that kid had a hole. So if you're familiar with like the PFO, like a foramen ovale in between the atria, so like the right atrium and the left atrium, we have a hole, right? Like, my anatomy and physiology people here.
It's on fleek, right?
So,
yeah. Let's get it.
Basically, you can have like an emboli going into that atria, and that atria can go to like, from the right atrium to the left atrium, and the left atrium can go to the, the aorta, and the aorta have different branches, right? You have the carotid go to all the way here in your neck, right? Those things can cause stroke, right? And if it's on the right one, it can go to like your pulmonary trunk, and can cause like pulmonary embolism and all. So it's dangerous, right? And mind you, they close this hole using like the pericardium, so the upper tissue of like the pericardial sac of the heart. And I remember the surgeon telling me, like, as if like God put another sac for like us to like fix things. And I'm like, everything started to go together, and I'm like, this is my why to medicine. Like, I've never had that feeling before, and it's just like a very inspiring feeling of like being able to impact a person's life and literally saving them. Like, few days ago, this person is like a high risk for stroke and all this stuff, and now this kid is like walking again. And then I saw this kid like hugging the doctor, and I'm like, dude, like, there's no other job like this. Like, this is amazing. Like, I'm getting goosebumps even now, like telling this story. Like, this is my why to medicine. This different factors of my journey from like volunteering to the emergency department, from like that, having that summer internship in SHPEP, and like from this being able to shadow what a doctor does and how they save lives. I'm like, this is my why to medicine. This is why I'm doing this. So that's like the long kind of story of why.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely a journey.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
A fun journey.
It's never something that I even planned or that I even know myself. It just came together. It just
beautiful puzzle. Right, right. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that, both of you. Now, now you can talk about Pittsburgh. Okay. I know you've been dying inside to talk about it. Um, share as much as you want. Like, yeah, I'm gonna try and do the least interruptions possible because I want you guys to talk and talk and talk about
Mhm.
the program. Because it's a great program, right? It's a great program. So
It's a great program.
yeah, so the two of you can hit it, together right now. So yeah, you're up. Anyone can
Um,
start. You guys can corroborate,
yeah,
collaborate, all that. Talk about it.
you can
Um,
start
Let's
our, yeah, just the over.
Christian went first. Do you
yeah, let's
want
go.
since you went first, or you want me
You
to go?
wanted, okay, sure. I feel like, yeah, it's gonna be like a very solid timeline. Like I can talk about when I joined the program and my experiences in the program, and then you can talk about the changes because I know they changed it during COVID, right?
Yes, it is.
So the changes and you know you can update the listeners about the current status of SPAEP. Yeah, so SPAEP is an amazing program, and I even now that I talk to my like fellow med students, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I took this MCAT and it was horrible. It was traumatizing." And they're like, guys, yeah, so I was in this program. It was like five of us who were in this program, right? Yeah, we did not take the MCAT, and they're like, what? Are you kidding me? They were all
You're like, are you
shocked. They're
kidding
like,
me? Yeah.
yes, you. Like, some of them they had that look. I'm like, boy, how
Mm,
lucky must you be? So like,
right.
you don't have the PTSD as I do. Like literally, it's a gem, and I recommend people to apply to this program. So basically, SPAEP, the logistics of it, right? It's a summer internship. So it's a summer internship. It occurs around 6 weeks or 7 weeks, right, Awa? The first few weeks of June, like in the mid of June, it starts around mid June, and it's around at the end of July or early August, right?
Mhm.
So basically, SPAEP it's a two-summer commitment program, right? That in the nutshell, it's a summer program that ends up with a medical school acceptance. So that's in and of itself, it's amazing. But what separates this summer program from like other programs, like I know SUNY Downstate also have a similar program, an EME program, an early assurance program. I also know Sinai have FlexMed. But what separates this program particularly is the MCAT thing, where
Okay.
it is waived
Mm,
um, once you get accepted into the program. But you have to interview, so you still have to interview for your medical school spot.
right, right, right.
So it's a two-summer program. Your first summer, you're basically doing um, content classes. So what I mean by content classes, you're doing medical in biology and med bio and was it med English, Awa? The
Yeah,
for doctor
English.
med
So,
English and med bio. So you're learning how to write literature, how to read research papers, and then in biology, like what we're learning in layman, like basically like a couple of genetics, a lot of diabetes,
yeah.
um, from
So
Dr. Roberts. Yeah,
Mhm.
immunology, anatomy and physiology also. So like a lot of biology is compact in one summer. So basically, you're doing that, and at the end of some of the summer, you are interviewing. So back in my class, we had it in person. This was before COVID. So I was in the 2019 class, state 2019 summer. I was a sophomore. I just ended my sophomore year. I'm now rising junior at Lehman. So it was the summer before my sophomore and junior year. And so like I took med bio and med English. We did a couple of presentations during that program. And then after that program, they basically prepared us for this interview, this medical school interview. And basically what we're doing right now, we're sharing why medicine, um, why do we want to become a doctor, what do we hope to gain from, like how do we use our platform of like being a medical doctors and all of this stuff, and like a typical fit medical school interview session where you interview with the student first and then with the faculty afterwards. So with the student, like, yeah, like what specifically about fit medicine that interested you, and then in the faculty, what can you add, or things like this, like this types of question of basically why do you want to become a doctor. So that's basically the first year in a nutshell. Now, the second year is where COVID hits. So basically, typically in a second year, we do research, right? So we do a research year, a research summer thing where we go to the lab during that whole summer, and then we make a poster or a presentation after that summer to present it in front of the faculties. So that's the second year. And then after that second year, the golden thing, the golden nugget, you're gonna get your medical school acceptance. Given the fact that you've successfully completed those first 2 years, you're going to get your medical school acceptance around, I believe, around February. And then you're basically, on your way to medical school, to Pitt Medical School in particular. And by before you start classes in the medical school, you have this summer program called the Prologue. This is the third part. This is the third portion of the internship of SPAPE, where you have to do a pre-matriculation program called Prologue. And Prologue is basically like, so I did it this summer, is basically like an advanced kind of like, an advanced kind of like insight into what a medical school would look like, the contents of it, how do you study and things like that. So we had a very brief introduction to anatomy, a very brief introduction to medical in interviewing, introduction to evidence-based medicine, and all of this stuff. So that's basically my SPAPE experience and the whole SPAPE program in a nutshell. But it was a great time.
Yeah.
And also like a lot of preparation that comes from that program. So it doesn't mean that we're not taking the MCAT. It doesn't mean that we are at disadvantage to those who took the MCAT. It doesn't mean that, because it's like we took the classes when we were there that you would otherwise be, study for the MCAT. We were learning, reading articles, like just like in cars, right?
Right.
We were doing neuroscience, right, with Dr. Artin, just like you were doing psychology part of the MCAT. We were learning biochemistry, right, with Dr. Roberts, and we were learning biology, just like the contents that you would have studied for the MCAT. So it was a very good internship to prepare you for what a medical school would look like. So basically, that's my portion of SPAPE. And
Right. So if I missed it, when did you apply for this? Which year? Sophomore year or?
During my sophomore year,
Okay.
specifically around. So I applied February. I don't recommend people to apply in February because I applied before the due date, and that in and of itself is a story. Because of like I never intended to like apply to yeah, exactly. It's like all connected. I never planned to apply to SPAPE. I just like found it in like some website. But I applied in February. Usually February is the deadline where you can apply, and they let you know about the acceptance of it, your acceptance letter, or whether you get accepted around March. March or April, right, Hawa?
Yeah, I believe in like April. So
yeah. But yeah, you can start applying around November, like the application cycle.
Yeah.
November of your sophomore year specifically, not freshman, sophomore year.
So yeah, I think the recommended would be sophomore year. I applied in my junior year. That's because my semesters start early. So when I came here, I started school in the spring. So like my year goes differently than everybody else. So technically I was a junior at the point that I was applying. And I also applied before the due date. This is not to say a successful applicant is before the due date. Guys, don't do
Please don't apply before the due date, please. These are some special students we have here, so
be smarter than us.
Okay? Yeah, please don't do that.
Be smarter. That's not the smart decision. Yes, that's not a smart decision. But yes, so I applied in my junior year, which would be the year that we're in a whole pandemic at that point. So everything from my experience is virtual. So it's kind of the same concept from Kristian, but it's different because it's virtual and they had to improvise for making sure that we're still learning or getting benefits from the program, even though it's not in person. So we did it in online. It is a virtual program, but we still got the opportunity to shadow a lot of doctors, basically have them come up and talk to us about their experiences. We had the opportunity to ask them questions, contact them later if you wanted to keep in touch with them. Aside from that, we're also doing all the bio stuff and the research that Kristian was talking about. 4 hours, we did have to do presentations every Friday, and it's based on a research paper that you're reading. So kind of like trying to make us learn how to do how to read research papers, but also translate them to people. So we're doing presentations every Friday, and then we had our major presentation at the end. And the other years, so Kristian and the rest of them were there when we were doing our presentation at the end of the whole program.
Right.
Did he give you a hard time?
Oh, we were not. Yeah, we were just audiences.
They were just
okay, good.
Yeah.
And,
okay, good.
Of course, if they had any question, they asked, and then we just talked about it. But it was.
Did he ask a question or no?
Yeah, I did.
He did. He was muted. Okay.
Right. No, he did not ask me a question. So you chose a topic to talk about. Ours, you chose any disease that you wanted to talk about, and I talked about epilepsy, my connections with that, and every research that I had on that. But that's beside the point. The general thing about it is like people there are very welcoming. They want to help you, and you can see that they want to help you.
Exactly.
There's a lot of schools that talk about diversity, but from my virtual experience from Pittsburgh, I have seen that a lot of them really do care about diversity. They went for the step to create this program to allow people to be able to get into medical schools that are underserved or underrepresented in medicine. And that tells you that they really do care about that. And they're very supportive. They listen to you. You have resources that you have never heard in your life. If you're an immigrant or you're underrepresented, you don't have some opportunities to meet doctors or talk to doctors, because either you have to go complete your job or you have to do something else that takes you away from having that opportunity. But they try to give you all the resources that you need, also preparing you to be a doctor and how to be successful as a doctor. So there's a difference between a doctor and being successful, being able to do why you actually wanted to be in medicine. If that was serving underserved communities, they want you to be connected to that team and having that experience. So that was my first summer. And then at the end of summer, like Kristian talked about, we had the interviewing. So we were the first virtual interview group. So they kind of used us to figure out how the virtual interview would go.
They used you guys as cadavers, right?
Right.
Like a guinea pig.
Like guinea pigs, right? Yeah, come here, let's dissect you.
So they were like, the rest of the medical school is gonna come interview later.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
And you guys are gonna be the first.
So it was a whole what to do because of the whole pandemic thing. So they had to switch to virtual interviews. My interview was faculty first, then student, and then we had a group interview where we're dealing with some type of scenario and we're working together to solve the scenario. And someone's there observing us on Zoom and trying to figure out if we're working together against each other or each one's performance. I'm guessing that's what they're doing. Right. So that was a great experience too. The interview was pretty much.
So about how many students did you have in your interview?
My whole SPAPE group is 9, and for our interview, we were dividing into, I think, 2 groups or 3 groups for each section. So group 1, but for the faculty and the student, both of that was individually with
Right.
And did everyone you interviewed with get into the program or not?
Everyone I interviewed with, I do not remember specifically who I was with for my small group sections.
Yeah.
But I believe most of us got into the program. Or the 9 of us. There's currently. So 7 of us are currently in the program. So for the interviews, it was pretty much they said it was going to be like the regular medical school interview. These people interviewing us do not know about our backgrounds. They do not know about your records or anything. It's like closed book interview. They're just trying to talk to you as a person, trying to figure out who you are. So it gives you the opportunity to talk more about yourself, because this person haven't read your personal statement or anything. So you're the one there to talk about yourself. So that was mostly the interview. It wasn't it was a typical medical school interview. It was very much more relaxed than I thought. And before the
Mm-hmm.
interview, I was also like asking Kristian, so how is this going to be? Am I going to be grilled or what is it? And he was like, yeah, this is giving me some tips on the interview. And then after the interview, I think believe in like October or something, we were sent the acceptance letter.
Acceptance letter for EAP. Yeah.
That's acceptance.
That must have been nice, right? Like a very nice feeling.
I know.
Right, that is
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a nice feeling. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
acceptance basically tells you you're accepted into the early assurance program, which is going to be to the second summer.
Mm-hmm.
For the second summer is typically research, basic research in the labs, but because it's virtual, what we were doing is we were doing anatomy and physiology lab. So we have these virtual cadavers that we can actually go in to dissect and look at.
Right.
The first day of class, they were like, okay, go memorize the 12 cranial nerves. I'm like, what? But yeah, it was a lot of anatomy that we were doing for, and then we're also doing research articles, much harder than our first level research articles, because we were like, oh, we got the hang of this, we know how to do this, and they're like, okay, here's a 13-page research article, just go figure it. I'm like, okay. It's kind of like intense, but it was great experience to get to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And learn a lot about literature reading and presentations and stuff.
Right.
We also were given the opportunity to be mentors to our first year. So we were in the second year. So we were kind of mentors to the first year, which meant that we could keep in touch with them,
Mm-hmm.
help them also share our experiences with them, whatever can help them to get through the program. It was a great experience. That's my experience with the program. So I'm
Also,
currently-
like,
Yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Awa.
No.
Yeah, so in addition to what Hawa said, also like
Yeah.
once you get accepted to EAP, which is the level 2 of the program, so it's a 2 summer internship, right? The first one's level 1 and the second one's level 2 space. So before you get accepted to a level 2, they emphasize that yes, you got into medical school. How you got into EAP, which means you got into medical school, right? So that's basically the pathway of it. But it doesn't mean that you can start screwing around your classes or being complacent, because you have to maintain a 3.6 science GPA and overall cumulative GPA. So you cannot just start failing your classes and like cutting out classes just because you have a medical school acceptance, right? So there's still need to perform afterward. There's still need to take it seriously, and you will, right? You have a medical school acceptance, so obviously you're gonna be motivated.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
exactly. So there's the maintenance of it. Yeah, exactly. In order for you to, to matriculate later on.
Right.
But
yeah, and to add into that, like just so people are not scared to apply, there's no like contract that you're signing that says,
exactly,
not accepted, you're coming here, we must see you here, we don't want you to come to other, because I know certain programs have that restriction, but for Pittsburgh, they're really trying to help you. So if you have decided, oh, I want to try out other medical schools as well,
they will help you
offer to read your personal statements or help you, guide you through your entire applications. So technically they're still helping you. I think the program is designed to help you get into medical school. They do encourage that you choose them, because why not? But still they're giving you the opportunity, if you need to apply to other medical schools, have that opportunity. So don't be discouraged because
that's pretty nice to hear, Awa. So but I mean, I went Kristian. So it's interesting you bring that up. Is that where you are now? What is your decision, Awa?
No, I have made a decision to go to Pittsburgh.
To go to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
See how Kristian, see how happy he is.
I know. So initially I was going to apply to several other medical schools just because chance purposes and
just because our why not? I mean, why not? I
feel like that would be an experience in its own, applying to other medical schools, seeing how that goes.
Yeah, I actually did. Yeah. I took that path of like, which was a really horrible part for my part, because it's very very
Right.
expensive. And like I remember my SPAPE friends telling me, the SPAPE who also committed to Pitt.
Yeah.
They told me when they saw me this year, I'm like, dude, like that was so like that was so horrible because you spent all these thousands of dollars to apply to medical school
Right.
when you got already. But like I took that path, and like how I said, the main point of the program is to help you getting to medical school, as opposed to like, oh yeah, you have like a contract with no. If you
Right.
want to come with us, obviously we prefer you come with us, and like
Right.
we'd love for you to come here. But if you do decide to come to other medical school, we're here to help you. We're gonna review your personal statement. We're gonna review your application, and we're gonna whatever you need, anything, letter of recommendation or that stuff, you can just call us, right? So just to give you a little bit of like a background, like this fact of like three SPAPE students that were ahead of me actually did not commit to Pitt. So one went to Johns Hopkins.
Really? Mm.
Yes. So one went to like Drexler, and then one went to I don't know where that other one went. I think Jefferson, or I'm not sure, but like all three of them, they all
Right.
went to different parts of like different
Right.
medical school than Pitt.
So
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 you
so that
don't have
means
to.
that means they
Yeah.
took the MCAT, correct?
Yeah, you have to take the MCAT now to like for
Right. Right. To get into other schools, of
So,
course.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, I mean, like, why wouldn't you choose Pittsburgh after they've given you that help? So absolutely, like, if that is
Yeah,
I mean, that's why the program is there. So you get
yeah,
into med
exactly.
school without taking the MCAT, sign me up.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into this. You guys didn't talk about requirements. I want to hear about it. What are the requirements to get into the program?
Requirements to get into the program. All right.
Yeah. Like
Um.
citizenship status, all
Yes.
those stuff. You know.
I can
Because
Oh,
we
yeah.
have a
You can talk
diverse
more a little bit
we
about
have a
this.
diverse amount of students who listen. So I
Yes.
wanted to
So
talk about that.
I actually want to share my experience with that because
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
when I checked the website, they had requirements. Most of them were not very harsh requirements or anything.
Mm.
Just being pre-med, being sophomore, because you're going to have to do 3 summers, and it works out if you're a sophomore, not so much if you're a junior or senior, because I'm not going to school right now, so that would happen if you were. But I was a junior at the time, and they also had a requirement of being U.S. citizen or permanent resident. I wasn't either at that point because I was an international student. So when I came here, I was an international student. I was going to school based on my F1 visa. So applying, I was discouraged to apply because of that, because I'm like, I don't fit into two categories. I'm a junior and I'm also like another US citizen. But I had a lot of support from Kristian, who was like, yeah, just try to apply, email them, talk to them, tell them about your issues or what's going on right now. Try to keep in contact with them to see how that's going to go. And a lot of support from Dr. Henning and Dr. Lydia. They were like, just apply. You're not really losing much by applying. It's not like there's an application fee or anything. You're just trying your luck. So I decided to apply. And that's part of the reason why it took late for me to apply as well, because I'm trying to figure out, should I apply? Because I'm not qualified. But on the other hand, I figured out there wasn't much that was required from them to apply. Just making sure you had a good GPA, you're a sophomore, and the essays, they had like 1 or 2 essays that you had to do. So I'm like, that's not much required for the benefit that could come from this program. So I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and apply. So I decided to apply, and I wasn't waiting for any acceptance because I'm like, I do not think I will be accepted. But the acceptance came, which was a great excitement on my part. But that's most of the requirement that specifically related to me. And in terms of the US citizen or permanent resident, pretty much fluid with a lot of things. They try to incorporate a lot of people and diverse backgrounds, also consider if each person individually. So I wouldn't let myself, or let any one of you, shouldn't let yourself be restricted by some of
The
the requirements.
requirements. Yeah, you have to see, and
Yeah.
the faculty, the faculty themselves are very welcoming in that point. Miss White was our is our like the coordinator for the program, and she basically coordinates everything, and then is the one who also calls us that to tell us that we got accepted into the program. I remember that call, vividly remember that call.
We do.
And I'm like, yeah, I was so happy. I'm like, what is this real? Are you sure you don't have to take the MCAT?
Right?
Yeah.
I was under the train
man.
station and a train was passing by. It was so loud. And
Yeah.
I'm like trying to hear what he's saying because he said, I'm calling from the University of Pittsburgh. I'm like, okay, was that an accept or what was it? And I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I need to write an email and figure out what
Right.
yeah, like you were accepted. And I'm like, okay, that's what I needed to know.
Yeah.
Right. And like right now, to give you like a perspective of now becoming like being a medical student from the program itself, right? Being now a product of that program. The faculties that I met during my SPAPE internship and the faculties that I'm meeting now, they are here to support us. We're still like, Miss White is here, like our coordinator is here helping us. She's telling me the other day, like, hey, you can come by my office if you just need some break. You know what I mean? They're there to support us. They're there to help us. And the good thing about it is, once we started medical school, at least for my part, I saw my SPAPE friends. I saw my SPAPE classmates. It was like a big reunion. So you already know a couple of people going into medical school and having that community around you. It's just like you feel like this is a safe place for you, to learn, to express yourself, and even your struggle. Because let me tell you something. Oof, right now, the amount of content we're learning, how hectic it is, the life of and this is just our first month, and it already feels like a year. The struggle is real. And like this drinking from like a fire hose, this analogy drinking
that
from
analogy,
a fire hose, it's super underrated. It's super underrated. It's like you're drinking from like 5 fire hose, not even
five, not even one, 5.
He's exaggerating.
So having those community definitely helps. Like having those safe communities, the faculties. The person who actually interviewed me is one of the faculties who's like leading this amazing club, like this bioengineering innovation club that you can join as a medical student, and he's the one who interviewed me. So everything is like connected, It's like you're having this connection from this SPAPE program. It's just an amazing community to be a part of. Definitely.
I agree with that. Even with the virtual setting, our group, we kind of like have a group chat. We always it's like
the camaraderie,
family. You already have it. I think that was one of the reasons, because I'm like, well, I already have a family here. I've already established few connections here, and I already can feel safe in this place, and that's important for me as a Muslim Black. I'm gonna bring it as a Muslim Black women. We're much underrepresented, but I feel like
same here.
Family, and I have a mentor that like it's also kind of like me, a Muslim Black woman, and from the Pittsburgh program, it's like easier to relate to and also share that. It's like Kristian has something.
Yeah, Kristian, what's up?
Let me tell you something about that. It's so true. Coming from like a background, especially like us, like I came, I'm a Filipino, so I was born and raised in the Philippines, right? Being a Filipino medical student here in the United States, specifically here in Pittsburgh, right? You quite don't see a very representative, the representation of like the Philippines and the Filipino culture in Pittsburgh is not as heavy as I would have liked. It's not like as representative as like New York or California, say. So having that community of like being able to be in the same background or to be in the same boat of my SPAPE friends really helps, because it's just out of 160 students, it's just 2 Filipinos. And I just met her during like second week of medical school, and I was so happy.
Right.
We have some like couple of Filipino faculties here, but they emphasize this is like, hey, we need more Filipino doctors. We have a lot of like, we have a lot of Filipino patient population in this country, right? So we need to be like catered to their own culture and to their own experiences. And I feel, it's essential to have diversity within, healthcare and medicine itself.
Absolutely.
And so relating to that, it's definitely relatable on what how Awa said. Yeah.
Right. So as we bring this one in, I mean, like, you guys are just, what should I call this? You spilled so much gold today. This is worth like what? I don't know. Tell me. How much is this worth? How much is this conversation?
Thank you for having us. We
Thank
truly
you.
Exactly.
appreciate this. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
doing
for
an amazing
sure.
job
So-
with this podcast.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. So, for sure. I mean, this is why I wanted to bring you guys on. I hope that you guys, guys listening, that you learned a lot from them. So I'll be sure to get the link of the program from them, and I will link that in the description down below. For sure, for sure, guys. Before you leave, tell us your emails and social media platforms so that students can follow you.
Oh boy. Yeah, well, you
Let's go.
first.
Don't tell me you don't have Instagram.
Uh,
So tell us your email and your social media platforms. Yeah.
I'll just put it in the chat, maybe.
Okay, for sure. I will link it in the description. But I just want you guys to
Oh, just
let's
say it out.
Yeah.
My Instagram is I don't know how I feel about this. It's awas.jobe. That's my Instagram. And email is awas.jobe31@gmail.com. Of course, if you need anything, you can reach out to me, and I'm sure Kristian would be happy to help too.
Absolutely, Kristian.
Right. Yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah, this has been very helpful. I'm not too active in social media, especially right now in medical school.
Let's go.
Like I'm telling you, even my friends deactivated their social media, so I'm not too active. But like if you are interested in following me, you can follow me at KD. So my first name K, my last name is Dale. So KD. My middle name is Dale. So KD, and then my last name Kdpunu. Just no space. Very simple. Yeah.
Kristian
that's
just forgot his middle name. You see how med school does to you? See how med school does to you? Okay. All right.
I even forgot that I
For
have
sure,
a middle
man.
name. I
Right.
even forgot. I almost said Durant. I almost said Kevin Durant. I'm like KD.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
For
KD. So KD and my last name, Kdpunu.
That's what the anatomy is doing to you now.
Yeah.
Right.
You're forgetting your name.
Yeah. His whole brain is like anatomy right now.
Crazy.
So
My brain
Yeah.
cells, they're all just like
they're all like anatomy.
at this point, yeah. All over the
It's
place.
good. It's good, man. It's good. So happy for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We did for sure. You guys did, right? We had
Maybe a
fun.
little too
I
much.
Absolutely.
enjoyed. I had
Oh,
fun
yeah.
talking
Uh-huh.
to you guys.
Absolutely.
This is an amazing break for me too. It's
happy to
definitely
hear
a
that.
needed break. Yeah.
Right. So guys, see you in the 6th episode. Bye for now.